We had some technical difficulties just a moment ago. We had some feedback on our mics, and we wanted to make you feel like you were one with the ocean, not sound like you were under the water. So we've started a new broadcast. So let's pick up where we left off. I was asking our participants why we need to care about the deep sea and why there are so many issues with deep sea exploration. Why do we know more about the moon? Why do we know more about Mars? And why do we know so very little about our beautiful big blue planet? The ocean is probably the most important part of our planet. We've got more ocean than we have Earth, and we are here with Edith Widder, Chris Fischer, and Paul Bunje from OCEARCH, from XPRIZE, and from Team Orca to discuss why we need to explore the deep sea more. So if you were with us before, we were happy to have you then, and we hope we have you back now on this broadcast. I'm going to jump in and have Paul start talking about a little bit about XPRIZE and how XPRIZE is starting to make efforts to explore our beautiful deep oceans. They have reached out to the moon, so we're hoping the oceans are next. Paul?
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, indeed. We're like I said earlier, we're about creating radical breakthroughs for the benefit of humanity. And though we're well known for what we've done in space, the oceans obviously are the next one. And there's Dave Gallo.
Hi,
hey, Dave.
Dave Gallo. Welcome. Dave Gallo, our missing link from Woods Hole.
The brilliance of technology, Dave.
He's so high-tech, he's in a car. Unfortunately, we can't hear you, Dave.
I was saying I was hoping you didn't hear me between some of the things I was saying just moments ago. So I'm glad you couldn't hear me.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. So we're on air live, and we're discussing the deep ocean. And Dave Gallo has just joined us. He is he's the special projects or special events coordinator for Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, and we're thrilled and excited to have you participate. I'm going to jump back in with Paul so he can finish his thought about XPRIZE. So Paul, take it away.
Yeah, so just taking off from what Edie and Chris were saying as well, that the oceans being sort of the basis for life on Earth are critical not only to the planet's survival, but really to human survival as well. And you've heard about how much unexplored there is, how much there is left to know. Those are resources and knowledge that can benefit us, that can really help humanity in a broad sense. And so that's sort of where XPRIZE sees itself. And what we envision, we've got a vision around oceans that looks 10 years down the horizon and says, what is it that XPRIZE can do to inspire innovators to really start to create a world in which the oceans are healthy, they're valued, and they're understood? And those three things are really critical. If we look at the perils that the oceans are under, threats from climate change, ocean acidification, overfishing, and all the like, the health is really at issue. But we're not going to start to get a handle on that until people value them more. And that means personally value them until we create sustainable markets so that there's a market incentive to value the oceans. And all of that really begins with understanding. And because we haven't explored the ocean's depths even remotely a fraction of what we could, like you said, Sam, we've done a better job with Moon and even the surface of Mars than the bottom of the ocean. Understanding comes first. And so we're going to be launching later this year our second Oceans XPRIZE. The first one, the Wendy Schmidt Oil Cleanup X Challenge, was focused around transforming technologies that would be used to clean up oil spills like the BB disaster in the Gulf. And with Wendy Schmidt's support again later this year, we're going to be tackling ocean acidification, really from the standpoint of knowing something more about ocean chemistry, which we have an appalling lack of data about, so that knowledge can help increase our understanding and later hopefully our value, and then finally really starting to make a dent in the health of the world's oceans.
I think you made a couple of great points. I think being curious and wanting to know more about the ocean is really paramount. I think that OCEARCH is doing a great job of connecting people and educating people about what's happening out there through their tagging and tracking of the largest species that live in our ocean. It's a great way to connect people to what's happening. I think Edith has had firsthand experience in actually capturing on film something that people have never been able to capture before. And I really want to touch on that. I think, Dave, I want to introduce you as well, but I'm going to jump to Edith really quickly because I'm just dying to know how she got that giant squid on camera and what she can tell us about her experience. So Edie, please take it away.
So I'm not a giant squid hunter, but as I said, I love these animals that make light, and over the years have been trying to figure out this language of light and what it means and how animals use it to communicate. And I've also, because I've spent so much time in the deep ocean and submersibles, felt like even the little bit we have been exploring, I think we've been doing it wrong. I think we've been scaring the animals away, because these animals have eyes that are adapted to see this very dim bioluminescence, and they don't have eyelids to protect their eyes or irises to shut them down. And so they avoid bright light, and a lot of them avoid noise. And the submersibles and remote operated vehicles we use, especially the ROVs, are very noisy. And so I think we've been scaring animals away. So I was proposing a different way of exploring, one that uses red light that's invisible to the animals' eyes that live down there. And that's a little tricky because red light is absorbed so quickly in seawater, so we had to use a special camera to compensate for that. And then use an optical lure that imitated a type of bioluminescent display that I had reason to believe might be attractive to large predators. And so it was that concept that got me invited along on this expedition, and which led to us recording the first images ever recorded of the giant squid in its natural habitat, which was a truly, truly thrilling experience.
So we've got the picture here of the giant squid on screen. Can you talk to us about this image?
Yeah, so that squid, if it had its feeding tentacles intact and fully extended, would have been as tall as a 2-story house.
Wow.
And the concept that there are giants like this living in our ocean, that we've never even seen one alive, is, I think, a testament to this fact of how little we've actually explored, and that what little we have done, we haven't done very well because we've been scaring these animals away. So we happen to know that giant squid exist, even though we've never seen one alive in its natural habitat, because they happen to float when they die. What about the stuff that doesn't float? How much is there down there that we don't know about, simply because our methods of study, which is primarily dragging nets behind ships or going down with submersibles and remote operated vehicles, a lot of animals can avoid those platforms, and so there could be fantastic discoveries yet to be made.
Can you tell us about how it felt when you captured this giant squid on camera?
Well, they actually captured our response, because this was the robot that I sent down, which got the first images. They weren't the spectacular images you're seeing there. The first images were black and white images, but we were just over the moon because we just weren't sure this was going to work at all. And actually, it was the second deployment of my camera system that got those first images. And they caught the whole thing on camera, and I had no idea how berserk we went until I saw it later, but we all went pretty crazy just being able to see that. It was a pretty thrilling experience. I went into science for the excitement of discovery, but I was thinking about exploring intellectual frontiers. I never thought I'd be doing this kind of Indiana Jones stuff, and it's awesome.
That's phenomenal, and it was a spectacular feat, and I can't wait to see what you come up with next and what new technologies you think of to start exploring and finding more incredible creatures that live in our deep ocean. I wanted to give Dave Gallo an opportunity to introduce himself to our audience. And Dave, tell us about yourself and tell us about Woods Hole.
Hi, everybody. Yep, so I'm Dave Gallo. I'm Director of Special Projects at Woods Hole, and some of my fellow scientists would say, we've got 150 scientists, they'd say every project is special. What makes me so special, be special beyond this panel. They are all special, and not just at Woods Hole, but all of your panelists. Everybody here is doing some great work. I'll tell you something I'm doing right now, and that's why it's so hectic and chaotic, is I'm on the way between Dallas and Atlanta. James Cameron gave to Woods Hole, we formed a partnership to take his submarine, the Deep Sea Challenger, while Jim's doing Avatar 2, 3, and 4. So on the way to Atlanta to meet up with that sub and some of the excitement around that sub. But you know, now the whole ocean is open. Oh, that's a great photo. Can you hear me okay? You know, it booted me twice because it said that there were too many people on the.
Oh, we can hear you.
Looks like it's thinking. It's thinking about whether it wants to keep me or not. That's why I'm getting warned that I'm boring everybody.
No, we can hear you. I'm showing a picture of James's son.
I see it. It's great. So that creature right there, the deep sea challenger, we're trying to get people not to think so much about the one event, which was remarkable, but to think about what it means in terms of the future. So from now on, we've got a robot that will go as deep called Nereus. In fact, it's in the Caribbean right now looking at some deep spots. Deep Sea Challenger, Elvin, our submarine Elvin, is now making its way to the Pacific to begin a whole new era of exploration. And I can only echo what you've already heard, is that the ocean's so full of surprises in the little bit that we've explored. Underwater mountains, underwater rivers, underwater valleys, underwater waterfalls, underwater lakes, life that rivals the tropical rainforest in many ways in diversity and density. All these things in that little bit that we've seen, and the question is, what's in that other bit of the ocean? That's one part of the excitement, and like Edith said, for the same reasons I got involved in science, you follow your curiosity, and I think some people don't realize how passionate we can be as scientists about something like the ocean, about exploration and discovery. There's a flip side of it too, is that we've got this intimate relationship as humans with the ocean, and the headlines we're trying to get at the details, but the headlines are pretty simple. The air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink, all tied into that body of water that we've hardly begun to explore, let alone understand. So a lot of excitement about what the future might hold. The stuff that we've got so far, and not just, again, Woods Hole, but the whole community, fantastic. And hoping like you, to get the public more involved in actually getting closer to the excitement and to the importance of exploring and understanding the sea.
Yeah, speaking to that, how do you think we can get people to feel more connected and more interested in the ocean? Science and exploration is exciting, and I think it should inspire people to want to learn and know more. So what's the catalyst? This is a small conversation we're having, and I'm so lucky and honored to have all of you included in this conversation to try to take that first step to encourage people to care more about our beautiful oceans. But what's missing? Dave, what do you think people can do to try to get more connected to the ocean and be more inspired to want to know what lies out there?
Well, everyone that I see here on this panel knows full well that we need to do a better job sharing our own excitement with the public at large, and we're doing a lot of that, but apparently we need to do more. There's a quote that I like. It's by McCann Erickson, an advertising firm. It says, "Truth well told." And as scientists, we're always after the truth. How does the planet really work? How does the ocean really work? But we do pretty well at that. The well-told part, we have a little bit more trouble getting the well-told part out. So we've got to do a little bit better things like this, more of these, and I think little by little. I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but little by little, I think we can win this. Part of the issue is we keep searching for the next Jacques Cousteau. And I don't think there's a next Jacques Cousteau. I think what we need to do is we need to wake up the little bit of Jacques Cousteau that's in everybody out there. I know a lot of your viewers probably don't know who Jacques Cousteau is, but it's that spirit of exploration and that spirit of understanding that we need to wake up in people.
I think people's main connection is maybe Darwin and Cousteau when it comes to exploring, but there's so many people out there making discoveries and setting off in expeditions and wanting to connect people to what's happening in our oceans. Chris, can you speak to us about your experience and how through tagging and tracking in your STEM programming you're hoping to reach out to the next generation?
Yeah, well, I think there's some fundamental challenges if you want to inspire people and transform how people are connected to the oceans, and we've really tried to radically address those things by transforming how research is done and eliminating kind of the institutional and individual approach and the ownership of data. I mean, what you've seen, because we're coming in and funding access to creatures that's never happened in the past, is we're bringing scientists together and institutions together that used to compete to collaborate. And then there is no concept of the ownership of data. We share the data with all of the public so they can learn beside the PhDs in real time with the tracker. And at the same time, the 30 or 40 scientists that are working on tracking these sharks are seeing this data. So is the public. So the concept of the ownership of data and institutional approaches needs to be kind of broken down, and it just simply focus on a resource-first approach and give all of the data away for free so that people can find it and be inspired with it and have that feeling of exploration that Edie talked about when we're looking at it at the right time, at the exact same time. Right now, what you're looking at in South Africa is, for the first time in history, our male and female sharks there are defining the range of the South African white shark, identifying the breeding sites and the nurseries, and the you know, the difference between the mature and immature life history portions of these white sharks' lives. And the public is seeing it at the exact same time as the PhDs leading the project across the dozen institutions and 38 researchers in South Africa on these about 15 different research projects. We are, the more we can inspire the you know, the explorer in everyone, which I think Dave mentioned, trying to inspire the explorer and scientist in everyone by bringing them in and allowing them to have the data and have there be no kind of us and them. So you'll see, like on our next expedition, we'll just stream that expedition in live. We'll make films. We'll give those films away every day so people can see it daily of what happened. When we release a shark in that film, they'll go immediately to the shark tracker and be able to track the sharks real time, just like the PhDs. And then when the kids go to their math class on Monday, there'll be a free curriculum where the teachers download that curriculum, and the kids' maths and science and geography and geology curriculums are based around that real dynamic live tracking. So I think there's some fundamental barriers that have kind of separated the public from the scientists and the explorers, and that's kind of created an us and them. And I think the key is to bring the public into the real time, get the exploration out as it's happening real time so they can feel the trials, the tribulations, the challenges, the joy that Edie felt. If the whole world could have been there right when it happened, that would have been spectacular rather than in a film later. So we're out trying to kind of pioneer field-based research and at the same time share it with the world real time, share the data in the breakthrough real time, and really just always keep the sharks in the ocean first. And I think that's how we can connect people and inspire people. It's this just total inclusiveness and eliminating the concept of ownership of data. The data is for the ocean. The data is for the people. It's for the kids. And I think that's a way to bring the world into exploration and to have them have ocean. You guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. We lost Sam for a minute. No, we can't hear you, Sam.
Sorry, I keep getting kicked off every time I try to share my screen. So sorry about that. No, I think, Chris, I think that's some really valid points that you made, and I think that's I was trying to show some really beautiful pictures that you sent, but I just got kicked off, so apologies. I think you've made some valid points. I think there's great ways to connect people, and I think that two of your points. One, I think data and research in the ocean should be available to all people. Tomorrow we're hosting a conversation about ocean data and how ocean data should be public, and there's a way for us to all work together and access that information. By we, I mean scientists, not me personally, to really get a better handle and better understanding on what's happening in our oceans. On the education side, I think inspiring people about education and challenging them to find out and want to learn more is a great way that XPRIZE is actually trying to encourage people to solve the world's problems. So Paul, maybe you can speak to that, how creating these challenges helps people then connect to the greater good.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I'm really excited about what both Dave and Chris were saying, because honestly, the challenges presented about telling stories in the oceans, it's so massive, it's otherworldly, it's unknown, these challenges are also, in a sense, our greatest opportunities, because the stories of exploration are some of the greatest stories ever told, and that means we still have a lot more of those stories to tell. There's so much out there that can engage people. And with the kinds of technologies that we have now to connect with folks, it's not just it's not just an email or a TV show anymore. We've got social networks and digital and everything else to be able to connect people in every individual way that they might be turned on by the sorts of things that are being done, be it going to Challenger Deep, discovering a giant squid in its real habitat, etc. And that's really what XPRIZE hopes to do using our tool. We know that prize competitions put up several $1 million to challenge people to solve a problem. Anybody can solve one of these problems. An innovator could come from anywhere. Could be a kid. Could be somebody in South Africa or in South Central LA. By doing that, we create these really exciting opportunities for everybody to begin to engage. And what we hope to do with those platforms is really help galvanize everyone to participate in the large and exciting community of explorers and scientists and researchers that are every day doing this great work in the oceans at depth and around the world. And so by launching these prizes, we not only want to solve a specific technological barrier, but we recognize that selling it broadly and telling the stories of these really incredible explorers and scientists is a remarkable way for people to get engaged and get excited, frankly. And so you'll see we're going to launch, like I said, I can't go into too much detail, but our next prize later this fall, we're going to launch the Wendy Schmidt Ocean Health X Prize, and we're really hoping to blow it out of the water. Pardon the pun. This is a great space for puns. But we want to make a giant splash globally so that everybody starts getting engaged. And when you get turned on, be you in Kansas or in Kinshasa, there will be a way for you to learn more about sharks in the Atlantic, the squid at the deep sea, or maybe it's just the reef off of the place you like to vacation in the Caribbean every year. And so we want to be able to connect people in those ways, not just with the excitement of solving a problem, with the excitement of the unknown. And I think there's a real opportunity to do that. Like you said, we've done it with space. Oceans are, in my humble opinion, way cooler and way more exciting opportunity for us to really discover new worlds.
Thank you so much. So what have we learned here? We've learned that we need to get excited. We need to feel connected to what's happening in the ocean. We want to be challenged, and we want to learn more about what we don't know. So life always should present you with opportunities to learn more and to explore. I think all of you in your work are explorers at heart and are always curious. And I think that sense of curiosity has been a running theme throughout this week of Hangouts. I think it's important that we all remain curious and we all remain connected. XPRIZE is doing a great job of connecting people in a way where they're challenged and they're trying to solve problems. Chris is doing a great job of connecting people through research and open source data and connecting researchers and scientists to what's happening in the world and tagging and tracking these big, beautiful species. And their livelihoods and how they are treated really affects all of our lives in ways greater than I even could explain. And then Edith, with her amazing sense of curiosity, is finding ways in which we can check out these awesome little bioluminescent critters that are down in the ocean and finding new ways for us to research more about what's happening. And Dave, who's joining us now, also facilitates a role in a sense where he can connect us, and Woods Hole creates large research projects to connect scientists with ways in which they can find more information out about the deep sea. I think in closing, and I don't want to keep you guys all for too much longer, and I appreciate your time, and I'm sorry for the technical hiccups. If there's anything that people can take away from this hangout, we're talking about exploring the deep, we're talking about all of your experiences. If you were to go up to somebody who'd say, maybe only been to the ocean on vacation, they'd seen the beach, maybe they've never dove, maybe they don't know how to feel connected to that space. What's something that's a takeaway that somebody can learn or read or watch or do or see themselves to feel better connected to the ocean? Dave, I'll start with you. Can you tell me what your one takeaway would be?
Well, I think there's a number of decent ways to do it, but I love going back to, watching some of Edie's TED Talks, and honestly, they are fantastic. And that kind of thing, just get on the web, do some poking around. There's something you can't help but get excited about the kinds of things that are out there beneath the surface of the sea.
And Edie, so I will plug your TED Talks twice and say everyone should watch your TED Talks, but what would your takeaway be?
Well, actually, I agree with what Chris and actually Paul and Dave have been talking about. But the idea of the public getting involved. I actually got involved in conservation efforts a few years back because of my distress that I felt like we were destroying the deep ocean before I even get a chance to discover what's in it. I mean, the fact that the deep sea squid actually have pollutants in them, persistent organic pollutants, and things like TBT and horrible stuff in them. Deep sea squid have this in them is truly alarming. So we've gotten involved in mapping pollution in the coastal zone environment, because that's where a lot of this is coming from, and getting kids involved in going out and helping us create these pollution maps. And I think there's going to be more and more of this sort of thing where we're going to be able to get the community and the public involved in collecting really useful data, as Chris is doing. And that's how you foster the linkage between knowledge and action, is you get the community involved in collecting the data. And I think that that's been the missing link. It's always been done by people in ivory towers who, as Dave pointed out, aren't always very good at communicating what they're doing in the first place. But if you actually get the community involved directly in collecting the data, then I think you can have a much, much bigger impact. And people should look for those opportunities, because they're going to appreciate those ecosystems and what they have to offer is so much more.
Chris?
Well, I think fundamentally it's important for people to understand that we must have a robust path forward for the ocean if we want to have a robust path forward for the planet. It's responsible for a lot of our water and a lot of our food. And I think it's important for people to understand that there are people exploring today, and there are ways to pioneer new methods even still today to create new data to affect policy now and education long term. And the fact is that as we collect and pioneer new methods to create new data, that every bright mind in the world needs to have access to that data so it can be looked at from every single expertise, so we can learn as much as we can, as quick as we can, to affect change as soon as we can. So this spirit of inclusion and transparency and bringing people into real-time exploration and giving all the data away as soon as it comes in creates a community around each explorer that is far more powerful and beneficial for the resource and the planet than we can all do separately. So I just think it's important to be collaborative and bring collaborators together and bring people together from different groups who maybe didn't collaborate in the past but have different expertise to explode new bodies of knowledge forward. So, the ocean it's a big part of all of our futures, and you have to care about it if you want to have our kids to have a bright future, and there's ways you can get connected intimately to exploration right now.
Thank you. And Paul?
You know what? Honestly, what these folks are doing are some of my favorites. I love the shark stuff that OCEARCH is doing, and it's such a great way to watch what's actually happening in the ocean, no matter where you are on Earth. But I'll be honest, what always turns me on and inspires me are just the amazing creatures that you discover in the deep sea. And Edith referenced this. We don't know what's down there, and even a simple Google search about life at the bottom of the sea, aliens of the deep. This is the sort of thing that is will turn anybody on, I think. And if you want a great video of this, James Cameron did a great documentary called Aliens of the Deep a couple of years ago. I think you can watch the whole thing on YouTube. If that doesn't inspire you to start thinking about new creatures and new things that we can discover on our own planet, now I don't know what will, but I think that's a great place to start, and just start asking questions. What is it that you dig? Is it sharks? Is it squid? Is it something that has got eyes that rotate inside of its clear head? Maybe it's oysters at the oyster bar. Who knows? But all of these are ways that any individual can get engaged, I think.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. I want to thank you, Edie, Chris, Dave, and Paul, for joining me in today's conversation about exploring the deep. I'm going to include links and information to everybody's websites and ways in which you can become inspired, get involved, and turn that knowledge into action yourselves. I think it's really important that we have a broader conversation about our beautiful oceans, and I think what all of you are doing to contribute to the greater good is phenomenal and applaudable, and I hope that we can inspire more people to start to care and, I think maybe today is just the first step of many, and I look forward to watching all of your careers and seeing what happens next. Please do keep in touch with us, and if you guys want to get in touch with this team, you can find them online at these websites and these Twitter accounts. I really appreciate all your time today. Just hang tight. I'm going to end the broadcast in a minute, and I want to thank you all for your time. Happy World Oceans Day, everybody, and we will share this YouTube video with you on our Google Plus page. Talk soon.